So, I'm late to the party, but I now have the USS Detroit, the naval reward for the current battle pass. I know that she has become a bit of a joke, but I'll review her nonetheless. I must mention that the reputation of the Omaha class is certainly well known, so some of you might not see much point to this video. But seeing that this video exists, you're too late to stop me, so let's get started. Detroit is armed with a total of 10 152mm guns, these being in 2 dual turrets, and in 6 casemates, allowing for a maximum of 7 guns per broadside. These guns get a choice between high explosive and semi-armor piercing shells. The high explosive doing what it does best, and the semi-armor piercing being reliable enough, but will struggle against some of the better armored cruisers. The reload time varies between 11.18 seconds to 8.6 seconds depending on the crew skill. This firepower is quite punchy against destroyers and nothing to be ignored against her peers, but certainly lacks the power to really deal with the higher BR cruisers efficiently. One thing of note is that the rearmost dual mount can rotate a full 360 degrees, allowing the Omaha class in general to almost always have a full broadside available when closing in. As for her secondary armament, Detroit gets a total of 7 76mm guns, 3 per side and 1 at the rear. These mostly serve as your long-range anti-air and wouldn't be too bad at it with their high explosive variable time fuse shells, but they don't have the volume of fire to really become a threat to aircraft on their own. Their base reload is 4.42 seconds, and at best going down to 3.4 seconds. I must fully admit that my American crews aren't in the best of state either, so your experience may vary. But these 76mm guns don't only have the option of HEVT, though I personally only equipped this shell. They also get a choice between a regular high explosive and an armor piercing shell. They're both appropriate shells, with the AP being especially useful against some of the tougher coastal vessels out there, but unless you get caught with your pants down, your main guns will usually be enough. When it comes to the small caliber guns, Detroit carries 8 28mm guns in 2 dual mounts. These are also known as Chicago pianos, by the way, and a total of 10 20mm guns all in single mounts. This is an alright anti-air suite, but can be lacking as their range isn't the greatest. The Chicago pianos, located 1 at the front and 1 at the rear, also have a rather long reload varying between 19.5 seconds to 15 seconds. But when they get on target, they can destroy it quite quickly. The 20mm are in a far better position, both literally and figuratively, with them being placed evenly per side, with 4 being clustered near the rear Chicago piano, 1 either side close to the 76mm guns, and 2 per side on the bridge. Their reload, varying between 5.2 and 4 seconds, also helps, allowing for a much more consistent rate of fire. All in all, the complete anti-air suite of the Detroit isn't that bad, but not exceptional either. And as for explosive ordnance, Detroit carries 6 torpedoes and 2 triple launchers, 1 on either side. If you've ever played an American destroyer past the 3.3 Clemsons, you know what they're like. They have a payload of 224 kg of TNT, and depending on whether you keep the torpedo mode enabled, have a range of 5.5 km with a speed of 83 km an hour, or a range of 9.15 km with a speed of 62 km an hour. I personally disable the torpedo mode because I prefer having fast torpedoes over useless ones. They certainly are worth taking, as they can even the playing field, especially so thanks to their incredible forward firing arcs. When it comes to mobility, Detroit, just like the other Omahas, isn't exactly the fastest, but she's not a brick either, having an alright top speed of 63 km an hour and a very good weather response. The only notably poor part is how long it takes to speed up and slow down, so be sure to plan ahead in the case you need to stay in cover. Survivability wise, we probably run into the reputation of the Omaha class the most. Detroit and the Omaha class as a whole are often known for their infamously bad survivability. I find this somewhat undeserved in War Thunder, and I get the feeling it mostly comes from the other naval game I won't mention. But there is a multitude of factors that contribute to this. Her high freeboard, her thin hull, and lack of any real protection on that hull are mostly to blame. But I believe that with good positioning and knowing when to push and when to hide, you can most certainly keep any of the Omahas alive for longer than they arguably should. As for playstyle, Detroit is nothing too special. As with most 5.0 light cruisers, you need to know when it's appropriate to hide and when to push. The matchmaking, of course, has a major influence on this. But if I were to put it into words, you want to be more careful in Detroit. Be sure to always seek out ample cover, but don't be afraid to every now and then pop out, especially so when your target is a destroyer or something smaller. It is a bit vague, perhaps, but don't worry too much about it. Just stay alive by seeking out cover and angling properly. That is sometimes more important than getting all guns blazing. As with all premium ships, is Detroit worth getting? In my opinion, no, not really. The minimum buy-in price for the Battle Pass is 2,000 golden eagles. And for that kind of money, USS Moffat is a much better choice, not to mention the time it took to actually unlock Detroit too. I don't regret buying the Battle Pass for Detroit, but I wouldn't advise it for those that want a premium ship to grind the US Blue Water tree. And for those that want it as a collector's item, it really isn't much different from USS Raleigh, the only difference being the frontal 76mm gun being replaced with a Chicago piano, and there being 2 additional 20mm guns. Sure, it has a nice skin, but really don't buy the Battle Pass to get Detroit. It's not bad, but it's not worth the money either. I hope that this was useful to you, and as usual, goodbye and may the seas be calm.